We're ready, Larry. Are we live, Larry?
Jakira, I believe a couple minutes ago, Larry advised that we were live.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we are live. Okay, so I am going to read the statement for the Safer at Home order. Due to the Safer at Home order issued by Governor Cooper, members of the MWBE Citizen Advisory Committee are participating virtually. And so we will now conduct a roll call, which will be led by Jakira.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to call the roll for the MWBE Citizens Advisory Committee meeting being held today, March 23rd, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. So Chair Kelly Easton.
Here.
Committee Member Cassandra Brunson.
Present.
Committee Member Drew Gertzmeyer.
Here.
Committee Member Cornelius Graves. Committee Member Jordan Gwynn.
Present.
Committee Member Stephen Hemrick. In which he has already expressed that he would not attend tonight's meeting. Vice Chair Leah Metz.
Present.
And Committee Member Ethel Witt. So now I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Easton.
Okay, thank you. So it's very important for our committee to, for this advisory committee to come together during these once-a-month meetings. I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to achieve so far, and I will say that, you know, just the partnership with Jakira and the staff has been really great. But in order to make sure that we have well-rounded input, we do want to make sure that that we continue to meet at our scheduled times. And so with that, I did put together, I do have a statement that I'd like to read, and this is going to lead us into the review of the recommendations that Jakira streamlined from the policy discussions that we've had previously. And so first, and my point here is to really reorient us as to why we're here, why we're doing this work, and the importance of the impact that we have at participating on this committee. So equity is the process by which justice is achieved for communities that have been negatively impacted by an intentional architecture designed to marginalize and exclude members of that community. We know that potential is universal, but opportunity is not. And in Winston-Salem, in our community, we have seen the rise of low wealth communities and the rise of the poverty in these communities that have been impacted by systems that have been destructive in a lot of ways. But such policies within these systems have produced the need to establish committees and advisories such as this one. And the MWBE Citizen Advisory, we have the important work of ensuring that all members of our committee have access to be able to participate in the opportunities presented by the city. So during the September 29th and October 20th MWBE Citizen Advisory Committee meetings, at my request as chair, the MWBE staff conducted a review of the MWBE Citizen Advisory Ordinance and the MWBE program policy. And we, the committee, provided recommendations regarding the program enhancements. As I shared before, Jakira has streamlined all of our notes, all of our suggestions, and she's sent them via email last week, so I hope everyone had an opportunity to review it. So today we will discuss the memorandum, but before we do, I would like to read the conclusion from the Brookings Institution report entitled, "To Expand the Economy, Invest in Black Businesses." It reads, The COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to see our inherent connections in ways that public policy has not always recognized. Individual recovery is contingent upon how much we collectively live by the principle of being all in this together. If undocumented residents are sick, the country's citizens will be as well. If Black and Latino or Hispanic people suffer from COVID-19's effect, so will white and Asian Americans. As real as our interconnectedness is in health, so too are we linked economically. Structural racism stifles Black businesses, and we all suffer from an underperforming economy as a result. However, using moments like this one, we can invest our way toward economically inclusive communities. We can invest in Black businesses, financial institutions, and neighborhoods in ways that combat the spread of COVID-19 and restore the value that racism has extracted. COVID-19 intervention should lead to investments in disenfranchised Black and brown communities, including their entrepreneurs. We should be investing in Black businesses to help solve problems in education, transportation, housing, criminal justice, coastal restoration, and other fields that show racial disparities. We must remove the drags of racism while investing with the explicit goal of increasing the number of Black businesses as a return. Inevitable crisis will occur. Consequently, we need investment strategies that address the underlying conditions which create racial disparities and undue suffering. And so, as this citizen advisory, you know, we're working to do our part, and I'm proud of the work that the city has done to do its part. And so now Jakira will review the recommendations in the memorandum that she sent last week.
Thank you, Chair Easton. So before I proceed, I would like to acknowledge the city staff that we currently have on the call. So we have Evan Raleigh, Assistant City Manager, Angela Carmen, the City Attorney. We have Kim Millett, the Director of the Office of Business Inclusion and Advancement. We have Jordan Page, Alex Bohannon, and Handa Hernandez, who are also staff with the Office of Business Inclusion and Advancement. And Larry Bell with marketing. So now I'll share my screen. And so as we review this, I would like to review all of the recommendations and responses. And then at the end, if there are any items in which the committee would like to discuss in further detail, we can do so at that time. So during late last year, the committee conducted a review of the CAC ordinances and the MWBE program policy. The committee did provide recommendations regarding program enhancements. So city staff did provide responses for those recommendations. So the first recommendation was for staff to create and implement a plan to achieve a wider demographic of city residents and community members on the committee. So currently, the mayor seeks candidates who have either a personal or professional background in construction, legal services, financial services, and experience with MWBEs. The mayor may also identify candidates who don't have a professional or personal background in those areas, but whom he deems suitable for the committee. So applications for the MWBE Citizens Advisory Committee may be submitted to the mayor's office at any time, even though there may not be any vacancies. They will be held for future consideration. So the next recommendation was for staff to encourage and facilitate community involvement for trades with low or non-existent MWBE participation, provide educational opportunities and spread awareness of programs currently being provided by MWBE staff. So staff currently provides educational opportunities and networking events at least twice a month. Staff currently provides a range of topics, including helping firms become HUB certified, as well as improving their bidding process. Staff will accept any suggested topics that the committee members recommend for any upcoming events. Next was for staff to provide an opportunity for general contractors to coach and mentor smaller MWBE firms. So what a mentor protege program would look like is experienced MWBEs and non-MWBEs will serve as mentors for smaller and newer MWBE firms. So in order to achieve this, staff will collaborate with local building associations, the American Contract Compliance Association, Greater Winston-Salem, and other similar groups to help achieve this coach, prime contractor, prime consultant, mentor relationships. Next, the committee asks that we provide outreach opportunities to help MWBE firms learn how to submit quotes to general contractors. So as I previously referenced, staff does provide educational workshops, and we do have two events that we provide, which is Estimating and Bidding 101 and 102. These are free seminars where MWBEs will improve their bidding and estimating process. As I stated before, if there are any additional topics that committee members think that we should offer for these types of opportunities for firms to learn how to submit quotes to contractors, please feel free to do so. Next recommendation was to create productive relationships between the committee, BIA, and community members with a focus on MWBE businesses. We currently do offer networking opportunities. One of our big events, which is the Winston-Salem MWBE Mixer, was postponed last year due to COVID-19 and will be postponed possibly this year due to COVID-19. It is a free networking event that allows MWBEs to develop relationships with city departments, prime contractors, and consultants to make those businesses and city departments aware of the goods and services that are procured by the city. And they also have the opportunity to sit down in sort of a speed networking situation. So we hope to provide something similar this year, although it may not be the same event that we have provided years due to COVID-19. Also, if there are any topics that the committee wants to suggest regarding these type of networking events, please feel free to recommend those to staff. Next, the committee recommended that we evaluate the membership term. The committee expressed the need to extend the term to 3 or 4 years. Currently, according to the ordinance, the term of membership is 2 2-year terms for a total of 4 years. So if the committee would like to move forward in staff presenting an item to council for amending membership terms, we can do so long as the committee votes in favor. Next, the committee recommended that we provide in-depth feedback sessions to contractors who failed to meet the MWBE participation goals. So currently, debrief sessions for unsuccessful bidders or proposers are offered by MWBE staff and scheduled upon request. Also, currently, firms who attend pre-bid meetings or pre-proposal meetings have the opportunity to ask questions about bid specs and send in questions for clarification. Next, the committee asks to be notified of the leasing opportunities within city departments. The city does have a real estate office, which aids in providing information regarding real estate owned by the city of Winston-Salem. So if any of the committee members would like to request more information regarding leasing opportunities, please feel free to submit those requests to the real estate office. Next, the committee asks to evaluate the sole source list and suggest MWBE firms to be added to that list. Currently, there are no known MWBE vendors who are considered sole source vendors. So a sole source vendor or purchase means that only one supplier, to the best of the city's knowledge, based on thorough research, is capable of delivering the required product or service. And so this means that there may be other vendors who provide similar goods and services, but for certain specs or standardization or quality that's compatible with current existing city equipment, there's only one vendor who does so. So in July of each year, the purchasing director takes an item to City Council and to the Utilities Commission for those boards to approve the sole source vendors. So in the email that I sent to committee this afternoon, the sole source list were attached. And so if you all identify vendors to be added to those lists, please feel free to send those to me, and then I will also send those to the purchasing director for review. Next, the committee suggested that we consider an economically disadvantaged women-owned business program. So state legislature requires municipalities to award public contracts based on their definition of minority, and that is individuals who manage and daily operate businesses where 51% of the business is owned by minorities or socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And so the state defines the term of minority as someone who is Black, Hispanic, Asian American, American Indian, or female. There is no legislative authority that will allow the city to create an economically disadvantaged women-owned program. The next recommendation was to provide the committee with an opportunity to meet with the MWBE internal committee so that you all can understand the process. So the internal MWBE committee is responsible for setting goals for formal construction and repair projects and conducting good faith effort reviews. So the committee meets on the second and fourth Thursday of each month. And so staff will provide the committee with an opportunity to attend those meetings. Next, the committee requested that we publicly advertise the list of contractors who have received remedial action. So the city's attorney office has determined that such information is considered public record, and the committee may request this information. Next, the committee requested that a equity policy be created. So the city manager's office is currently in the process of developing a comprehensive equity strategy. And when details are provided to be shared, I will share those with the committee. Next, the committee requested that we partner with Foresight Futures to provide a clear narrative of and an environmental scan for the 2019 disparity study. So a full report and supporting appendices is on the city's website in full detail, but there is also an executive summary that presents a clear, condensed version of the findings, recommendations, and accommodations. And a link to the executive summary and full report is here within the document, and it's on the city's website. Sorry. Next, the committee asks that we evaluate if participation by Prime Hub certified firms can contribute to the MWBE participation goals. So the city's MWBE program and the city's purchasing and contracting programs are a subcontracting program. And so we encourage prime contractors and consultants to voluntarily offer MWBE participation. And so in which we don't count the participation by Prime Hub certified firms to the MWBE participation goals. Lastly, the committee requested that we partner with Winston-Salem the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System at the mid-high school level to expand their knowledge of trades, and especially trades where we see lower non-existent MWBE participation. So staff will collaborate with organizations such as the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System, the Construction Industry Council, the Small Business Center at Forsyth Tech, and other similar groups to address our workforce development needs. So that is the end of the responses for the recommendations provided by the committee. And now I will accept any questions.
Okay, so I thank you, Jakira. This has been very helpful. And again, thank you for just streamlining it in the way that you did and providing this feedback. So I took a few notes on a few of these recommendations. And I don't know if I guess maybe if we just have the space and time to kind of to go by each one. Well, let me ask this from the advisory. Do you guys have a lot of feedback to provide? Because the one thing I wanted to make sure is that we had a majority of the advisory before we really start delving into providing feedback on the recommendations. And I know since I've said that, more people have joined. But do we want to go ahead and explore this further or provide our feedback, or do we want to just give ourselves enough time to review it and then follow up? The other thing I would like to note is that I don't know if we have extra people from the city staff here. It looks like we pretty much have the same ones, but I just wanted to note that they may have taken the time out to be here today.
Kelly, I just have a few random questions throughout. So if there's a systematic process that we're going through this, then I can ask my questions at that point.
Okay, let's just go at it, and then we'll figure out if it's not enough time or we feel that we need to have another conversation, and we can do that. Okay, so I guess for this, do you have any on this first recommendation, Leah?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a timeline or a systematic process on when there's a vacancy as to when there needs to be a fulfillment of open positions? Is there any plan, program, outline, anything with this one?
So yes, there is, Leah. So the applications are turned into the mayor's office. And so we do, as in BIA staff does express the need to fill our vacancies. And, we give them a makeup of the committee members who we currently have on the committee, what professional or personal backgrounds they do come from. And so as far as when we speak to like ethnicity, we can't deny anyone from being on the committee based on, their sex, their religion, or anything like that. But we do recommend anyone who is interested that they do submit an application to the mayor's office.
So if we know of folks who have applied or have voiced, at least to me, that they have applied and have turned in the paperwork, and it's been a while and they've not heard anything, what is the recommendation as to what they should do? Like if they just don't hear anything, then what happens? Like how long of time should go by before they should either just move on or should we engage with somebody?
I'll let senior staff answer this. Evan, would you like to take this one?
I can jump in there. So Leah, to your question, first of all, it's good to see you.
Hey.
So the appointment process, is kind of Jakira laid out there, is managed exclusively by the mayor's office. And so, from a departmental perspective, we certainly can provide names, help generate interest, but ultimately the timeline that's associated with the way that process moves forward, and ultimately who gets selected is completely independent of the department and controlled by the mayor's office. So to your question, I would say there is concern about an application that's been submitted that hasn't been followed up on. I would recommend you contact Linda Barnes, who's the director of the mayor's office, she would be the most appropriate contact. She is the point person in getting nominations to the mayor for review and approval.
Okay. And then furthermore on that question, and I know Linda, so I can email her, and also I'll email the person as well, right? Because hopefully they're telling me the truth on that. Is there, like, what is the capacity of our committee as to what would be our full number if we had every single position full? What would that be for the committee?
Jakira, do you know that number? I'm not looking at the.
It's 11 committee members.
11 total? Okay.
Yes.
And we're down to
8.
8. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I just had, okay. Yeah, and I think, so my concern with this here is the fact that the mayor is free to recommend any candidate deemed suitable. So I think with the level of intentionality needed in order to address the disparities that were outlined in the report, you know, I think in terms of like, how are we defining what's suitable? I feel like this policy, just, you know, the ways that the advisory, like in terms of the appointments being made, we've seen that there really hasn't been any significant impact in terms of Black businesses being able to, MWBEs across the board being able to participate. Then, you know, we probably really want to take into consideration the appointments that are being made and really giving more thought to that. So I think that it's really important to have someone who, to of course have people who are knowledgeable about construction, because I know a major part of our work is just a good faith effort, but a good faith effort is not the extent to which we're going to achieve utilization. So, you know, I just believe that we really need to give more consideration on who's deemed suitable and just making sure that we're able to really challenge and have greater insight from committee members or from members who are active, you know, in these various communities that the MWBE is supposed to represent.
Good afternoon, it's Ken Millett. I want to add a couple of thoughts about that, and I don't remember the exact details. Evan, feel free to jump in if you recall with a little more precision than my memory at the moment. In the past, including very recently, I know that we had someone intimately involved in with knowledge of construction and was an MWBE, but that also potentially presents a conflict of interest where you are serving on the Citizens Advisory Committee, you would not be able to bid on city projects.
Right.
We had an individual in the construction field that was a part of it, and frankly, that individual had to make a decision. Am I going to choose to serve on the CAC, or am I going to choose that as a business owner, I would like to maintain the ability to bid on city projects? And the decision was made. So it's that is one of the challenges that comes from providing a membership on the committee to someone who may be intimately knowledgeable about the process, but it would then affect their ability to conduct business with the city.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Ken. And I know that was mentioned during that was mentioned when the consultants were going out into the communities. And I know I was at one of the meetings where someone had raised their concern regarding that. And, the fact of the matter is we know that there are not a lot of MWBEs that are in position to, not as many of them, that may be in position just due to maybe the lack of resources or so forth, which is why I feel like that equity is important, to bring into this conversation. And so it just creates another barrier. So someone who is, so someone who has that intimate, just the knowledge, the experience around bidding and being able to go through this process and can help enhance it. The fact that they're not able to participate and they have to make that choice, it really speaks to why, why I say that, the system is broken in a lot of ways. And I know that, again, all of this is nuanced, but I think that it is important for us to be able to find a way to include those voices, but then also those who may be able to, who understand policy. So so I think that is important as well. I don't know much about construction, to be honest, but I understand policy, I understand systems, and, I'm coming with a historical context, so I can, have conversations about, I can give insight on ways and give suggestions, but then I can take what I have and, have a conversation with Drew or Stephen, who has, that understanding of construction, and then the other members of our board who are entrepreneurs, and we can collectively, come up with recommendations. But I just think that we need to just take all of that into account, because if not, then we'll just continue to get, I feel like there are a lot of voices just missing in this conversation. So with that, Ken, is there an opportunity to take another look at who is able to contribute or who's able to participate, I should say, on this advisory? If we know that there are community members who are passionate about doing this work and can provide, can offer their experience, to these conversations, and I'm talking about those who will participate.
Sure. I think there's always the opportunity to apply. I know Leah mentioned that she's aware of someone who has applied, sounds like a while ago, and had not heard anything. We don't really know the pool of candidates that have applied, but I would say that I wouldn't let well, maybe I can, maybe I can't serve be the reason someone decides not to apply. That can be worked out through the approval process as it's considered by the mayor's office and ultimately by council. So Kelly, I think it's anyone with any background, whether they're knowledgeable on the construction side, on the consultant side, on the business owner side, they are certainly welcome to apply with no hindrance to doing so.
Let me, if I may interject, to the extent that person is interested in getting a city contract, of course, that will have to be evaluated under the state conflicts of interest laws, as well as the city policies and so forth regarding that. But that can be done, once the person applies, and we go through an in-depth analysis of the facts and so forth and the statutes.
Okay. Thank you. And could we add, so could we make I would like to make a recommendation that we add a 5th bullet point here, and we include someone who has like a social justice or policy background and economic mobility. I think that they can offer something to this as well, to be taken into consideration to become a member.
Yes, Kelly, I'll add it as a bullet to consider.
Just for clarity, this is Cassandra. So where the conflict lies is with the contractor, the general contractor bidding, correct?
Correct, and that's for construction and repair. Construction,
right. But if the general contractor subs out some of the work, and that happens to be a committee member, is that also a conflict?
That is a potential conflict as well. And that's certainly something that as it comes up, we'll have to look at in terms of what the actual facts might be. Because it's difficult to have a potential sub on the committee that's evaluating a contractor and whether or not that contractor's made a good faith effort.
And then they become a
tends
sub.
to benefit, exactly, and they tend to benefit from it.
So I wanted to say this, but I don't know if this is an offline conversation with Kelly, that I think that these things are in place for the betterment of all, and that there are other trades or people would just have to, other trades that could contribute and that know some about the construction process. For instance, I know some about the construction process because I'm a designer, and you know, I use subs, I use general contractors, so to that extent, and that the greater work I feel is done on the side of making sure that there is a good faith effort with the numbers, with the quality of their efforts in, you know, contracting these people to work under them if they get the bid. So I don't know, like I said, that could be a side a side discussion with Kelly.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, I think we've got it covered with other trades or professionals being involved that knows, you know, that can assert themselves about the construction process without actually being a construction professional.
Yeah, so I agree. We want to make sure that we're not, I understand the conflict of interest that could, that will present itself, especially as we go through the good faith effort. But I want to be clear that I do not believe that the good faith effort is going to achieve utilization. Also, I think that you're, I know that it was great, when you came to join this advisory, but before you joined this advisory, then I don't believe we had anyone who had that background. And so I also thought that it was mentioned that anybody who is working with the city, that you cannot have any type of city contract. So that means that you wouldn't be able to go after any city contract if you're on this Mwbe advisory. But now that that's cleared up, that does help. Yes.
Yeah, because I had to weigh that out, and anyone else who's up for that would have to weigh that out with the value of their business. Do I sit on the committee? Do I want to do that work, or do I want to take a chance and get those bids? And so for me, it was I wanted to do the work greater than I wanted the opportunities to do the bids.
Well, yeah, I think it's great that you're able to make that decision. But the truth of the matter is, not everyone is. So I think that there are people who have, who may felt that. Who have something to offer, and maybe instead of just sitting on the sidelines and just complaining that, that they're not presented with the opportunity, that they may want to get involved, even as they themselves are trying to grow and scale their business. So I think that that's just something that needs to be taken into consideration, because everyone's opportunity, everyone's different, and their experience and the resources they have and even access to certain networks are also different. So we just have to take all that into consideration. So I'm really, and that's part of what I feel we need to do, when we're looking at what is going to be the best thing to uplift our entire community. I think that it goes a long way to consider those who are the most impacted, kind of starting from there and then working our way up. So I'm really, considering the people who maybe don't have the access for them to come in, because even going through this, then one of the things that we'll find is, it's difficult to, for like a lot of these contractors are saying they can't find you, they don't even know that you're here. So now, that's something that may help them understand how they can create greater access in their community. So I just wanted to share that, but I understand what you're saying.
Is there any more discussion regarding this first recommendation? I'll move on. I think you said you had other questions, Leah, regarding, or is there any other committee members that have questions?
Yeah, I have one. So if we can, what is this? Yeah, on this page here. In terms of the the recommendation, provide an opportunity for general contractors to coach and mentor smaller minority businesses. I think that I appreciate the Protege program. I think that will go a long way. I also think that there could be some benefit to include like our CDCs, like the Golder CDC, SGAC, and CDC as part of these conversations, not only for this recommendation, but others where there are institutions listed. Because the one thing that I believe that we all learned as we grapple with COVID and the impact and effect that it's had on our communities is that there's when it's time to really reach people, then that those boots on the ground and those networks that can really get to get into places or be able to move in certain spaces becomes very important. And I think one of the ways to develop those communication lines is to be able to leverage the communication lines that are already established. So there's a lot to be said about, relational capital and looking to strengthen economic mobility opportunities. So just including more of these organizations that really have a focus on MW and on MWBEs.
Okay, I'll add those to the list.
I don't have any questions on this page.
Okay. Or is there any other committee members or Chair Easton, did you have any other ones on this page that you would like to discuss?
And I just had another question for this one at the bottom, create productive relationships between the committee, BIA, and community members with a focus on MWBE businesses. So I understand that that the city's doing these two events, and from what I've seen, that they're well attended. I think that I'll be interested in knowing like the success stories, and are we really highlighting the success stories that are coming out of these initiatives? Because that may be really that could go a long way for other community members or MWBEs to be able to hear how people have utilized these services and how they've been able to scale their businesses. And then the other thing is, I just think overall, I don't think that it is up to the city alone to try to figure out all of this and to do everything that needs to be done. And so, I was stressing the fact of developing these community relationships, again, to just make sure that that we're providing a wide a wide variety of opportunities and ways for people to access the services and the information of the city.
And Kelly, it's Ken Millett again. I'll just add, the Mixers is a city event. We put that on, but it does involve several of our community partners that we have relationships with, and does provide the opportunity for the MWBEs to learn resources beyond just the city. For instance, I know that Winston-Salem Chamber, Forsyth Tech, the Winston-Salem Black Chamber, and I knew I shouldn't have started a list because you always leave somebody out.
Yeah.
But that is that's a networking opportunity and relationship building opportunity, not just for those folks to meet with city staff and the city departments, and not just the contractors. It's also for those business organizations that do serve our community. I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's a highlight. I mean, I think it's a great thing. Like I said, I've seen that they have been very successful and well attended, and I just think it's great, you know, and I think we need to do more of it. And so maybe that is a matter of having these other organizations, you know, maybe they can coordinate some too. So then we can make it, you know, it can go from 2 a year to maybe 4 a year, just doing it more often. Because I do think it seems to be a really great program.
Well, Kelly, this is so wonderful. If I may just ask one quick question to piggyback off of this, who would we contact for these suggestions for upcoming events, topics, and so on and so forth, and even change of venue?
It would be myself.
That's Jakira?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. No. Kelly's thing went green and you were talking, so I was like, what? Okay. Thank you, Kelly. I love that.
If there are no other questions regarding this page, I'll move on to the next.
So, question on the advisory committee terms, is that, because I've not gone and looked, the term, the membership term, is that 2-year term consistent across all of the other committees? Or is that, do they vary? Do any of them have a longer term? And I asked that, and I guess I can go look as well.
No, you're totally fine, Leah. So to my knowledge, I want to say that the terms may vary between the different committees. I can provide you at a later date with what some of those other membership terms look like.
That is correct, Jakira. Other committees have varying terms. Some are 2-year terms, some are 3-year terms. There may be 1 or 2 that are 4-year terms.
Okay. And then once we recommend this, should we recommend this, how long would it take, average best guess, to get it implemented? Like from the point that we ask for it to it actually becoming actionable? What do we think that time frame is? Best guess.
It would have to be approved by City Council, and normally items require essentially 2 reads by committee. Mm-hmm. So you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 month process, assuming we get the, I guess, ordinance amendment written and presented in time for the cycle 4 committee review.
Okay, great, thank you.
Keep in mind, I think council has a hiatus. I think it's in July. They don't have meetings. I'll have to double check that.
So what would we need to do to go ahead? I know it says staff may present an item to council. Is that something that we can decide on today, that we would like to see that happen? Do we need to vote on that?
You would need to vote on that. I guess you need to decide, are you talking about going from 2-year terms to 3 or 4-year terms? You'll need to decide how you want it changed, and then vote on that. And then if the committee approves it, we'll prepare the item.
Okay, thank you. For this next one, dealing with the good faith effort, which I've made it known, like we're gonna have to do more than that. But with that, it would be interesting to see some type of what do I want to say here? Do we have we compiled the feedback that we've received from the contractors? You know, whenever the Jakira, you or Alex have met with them to get feedback, I know we began to ask them during the good faith effort review process, you know, what some of their challenges were. But it will be really interesting to see the data and for them to be able to share their experience to see, because I feel like that can help inform some of the ways, some of these recommendations as well.
Right, Kelly. So, Teresa, and I would say that the biggest feedback that we get is where and how contractors can, or what databases should they utilize to seek MWBE participation. It's really not anything regarding our specific good faith effort process, because as you all are aware, that process is mandated by state legislators. So they require us to include the specific items that we currently have in our good faith effort process. They require only 50 points out of 100 to deem the good faith effort sufficient by those bidding on state contracts, whereas the city, we require 115 points. So it's not necessarily anything regarding our process, but it's where can they seek individuals for the particular trades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, thank you.
There are no other questions regarding this particular page. I'll move on to the next page regarding the sole source and the economically disadvantaged women-owned business program.
Just a question on the on that last one. It says to contact the real estate office. I'm assuming if I go on the website, I can figure out who the person is to email or to call, or you just call over to the office and somebody will pick up in these pandemic times?
Yes, I can share the information, the contact information for those in the real estate office, and I can also share the link for a public information request.
Okay, cool, great.
Okay, and I just had some feedback regarding the recommendation for an economically disadvantaged women-owned business program. So I understand that we do not have the legislative authority to create such a program. I'm curious if there's an opportunity for staff, or maybe this advisory, or maybe both, or maybe even just to include other people from our community to come together and to maybe partner with like the CSTEM initiative at Winston-Salem State to discuss policies that could be helpful for our community. So even though it may not be an official economically disadvantaged women-owned business program, I feel that we may be able to explore policies that can mirror it, or take some of, that can mirror it, or just be able to pull, different pieces of it to do something here locally.
Kelly, I think I'll let Angela chime in on this one too, but unless there is state legislative that allows us to do so and to amend our policy, I believe we can't, but I'll allow Angela to also weigh in on this one.
I guess I need to kind of understand what the initiative is and what the purpose might be to better answer the question. I mean, if you're in essence trying to build a bank or collaboration of disadvantaged women-owned businesses for the possibility of participating in city programs citywide, I mean, that's one thing as opposed to having a program itself. So I guess it just depends upon what exactly this initiative look like and what's the purpose.
Yeah, so I think, so definitely, expanding it citywide is just like, what can we do? Can there be some type of program where we can work with, work with these women? We know that they're the ones who are actually the hardest impacted by poverty in our community. So, what would it look like for the city to convene, or maybe even participate in convening to discuss what, some type of initiative that can, that would address the economic impact of these women.
Okay. I mean, we can talk more. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying specifically to those who have been, you know, who are hit the hardest with poverty.
Certainly, we can certainly talk more offline about kind of what that might look like, as opposed to trying to have a program sort of like the MWBE program that is statutorily authorized. Maybe it's a program that can serve as an initiative to help place women who are disadvantaged in a better opportunity to become bidders or participants in a city program.
Yes. That would be great. That's perfect.
Were there any other questions on this page that would like to be addressed?
Yeah, for the equity policy, and I know that, I mean, I can just imagine the process, but I do, that is being established or that has been established. I'm sure this is not going to be an easy thing, but I wanted to know if there's, if we've included a way to receive community input on the development of the citywide equity policy.
I'm sorry, Kelly, can you repeat your question? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, is there a way to receive or to include community input for the equity policy? And I know it's a city, it sounds like it's a citywide policy, is that what I'm hearing? Or are we going to have a specific policy for the equity policy for the MWBE?
I'm gonna let Evan Raleigh.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in there. Kelly, let me just give you some insight. Is really speaking to in the effort that's underway. So recently, the city manager has created a new office of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a fledgling office. It's been in existence officially maybe 2 weeks. So that is the culmination of a number of conversations that have happened in the community, on our council, and some needs that have been identified to the organization to stand up an office like that. In terms of scope, that office is going to be looking specifically at internal, at least at the beginning. That work is going to be focused on internal, I'll call them internal equity issues, internal to the city, the organization. So part of that work is going to be the creation of, I think one of their early task work plan items will be the creation of an equity, diversity, equity, and strategic plan that's going to be speaking to efforts that we citywide, departmentally should be taking to advance, I'll just call it broadly, equity and inclusion issues. So that's what this is really speaking to. So I don't know that there's necessarily one policy per se that's going to be called the equity policy that's going to come out of this work. There will be many, I think it's probably likely that there will be many items that address the topic of equity, if you would. So I hope that gives you a little bit more context for what's going on.
Okay, yeah, so that was very helpful. Thank you. Sure. And I guess the one thing too, because I know that, I mean, that's heavy lifting work. I know for sure. I'm wondering if in the meantime, and I'm saying this, I'm kind of smiling because I know it seems like there's already a lot going on, but it would be helpful if there was some type of equity clause that could be added, you know, just to the MWBE advisory, or just ways, like how would it look for us to explore that, just for the advisory. So I'll put that out there. I don't know, I guess I just really need to think more on it because I know you have to have the infrastructure there in order to even implement equity. So I don't take, you know, anything away from understanding that, you know, there's a lot of steps that are needed.
Did you have any other questions, Chair Easton, for this page?
No, I mean, I think for this last one, in terms of a clear narrative, I think that's probably, no, I don't. Yeah, I think that there are a lot of people in our community that really don't know, they may not understand this business disparity report. But again, it's everything should not fall on the city to do, so. So we can move on. I don't have any other questions for that.
Any of the remaining items on the last page?
Yeah, so the last one was working with the school system. So I love the fact that the staff will explore, these potential collaborations. The only thing that I'll add there is some of the most innovative concepts sometimes come from community members. So I would, again, I'm just big on community being able to help shape how we move forward, because if we know we have everybody's buy-in, then there's a level of transparency there, and also opportunity to create greater ownership, and so then that ownership leads to inclusivity. So I just think that is important as we look at the collaborations. So there may be local firms, that have something very strong to offer and can partner and do things in ways that like another system may not be able to do. But I do think that the school district, starting there makes a whole lot of sense to me.
If there are no other questions from the committee members, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Houston. Okay, yes, well, thank you again, everyone that contributed to producing these recommendations and just collecting all the information. I think that you and Alex are just doing a really great job, and I think that we will be able to, just be able to continue to advance our efforts. So I guess my only thing is, like, what are the next steps from here? I don't know. Are you going to compile these notes again? And I guess we're kind of forming this feedback loop here, but I just want to make sure that we don't just go over this information and talk about it, and then, we close the book on it. Right, and so the plan is to create, if you will, an action plan for the recommendations that were supplied by you all. And so as you know, some of the things that we currently are doing, some of the things we can't do, but I would like the committee to provide feedback from what was discussed tonight. If you all can email me, that would be helpful. And then from there, we will ask that you all vote on, I think it was expressed that you wanted to extend the membership term, so we would have to vote on that. And then staff would come back and with a plan to move forward at that point. So the recording will be supplied to the committee members who weren't in attendance tonight. And then our plan is to receive the feedback from the committee and then move forward with an action plan. I will note that we do have the disparity study implementation plan. So if there are certain items in which we can implement along with that plan, we will do so, but there may be certain things that will have to be postponed until we get those other items implemented.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. And thank you to the city staff for just continuing to help educate us on this process. I don't have anything else to add. I mean, are there any committee members, I'm so tongue twisted today, who have anything to add? Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
Kirsten, I do want to note that we do have an additional staff member. His name is Jordan Page. He joined BIA back in January of this year, so we are now a staff of 3. So I just wanted to point out we do have additional staff.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, yes, welcome, and thank you for sharing that. I think, yeah, when we met you in person, and so then everyone else on this Zoom, it seems like, yeah, everybody just kind of got tossed in, but I look forward to us being able to meet again in person, hopefully sooner than later. So, and is it Hannah?
Hannah
Or
Hernandez,
Jordan?
a part of BIA.
Okay. All right. So welcome again. All right. So there is nothing else. Then I guess this meeting is adjourned, and I will. I'll be sure to email you my notes, Jakira. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.